What would you do if the person who sacrificed her entire life to raise you suddenly vanished to a secluded countryside home just as your world was finally coming together? Deep in the sun-drenched hills, Jack stood beside Tu Tien, watching his elderly mother fold worn clothes into an old traveling bag. The fragile quiet in the yard felt heavy. They had survived bankruptcy, malicious rumors, and months of exhausting, back-breaking labor. But today was supposed to be a day of peace. Instead, the sudden arrival of a phone call from Uncle Dung threatened to shatter the quiet balance they had just rebuilt. Why was Jack silently handing over the deed to a small, hidden property? And why did his mother smile through tears, acting as though she was saying goodbye forever? The morning sun had barely burned through the overcast clouds when Tu Tien carried the last bamboo tray of dried bamboo shoots into the yard. The earthy aroma floated through the chilly air, lingering around the wooden porch where Jack's mother sat, her frail hands carefully sorting the golden strips. "Mother, look at this," Tu Tien said softly, kneeling beside her. "They're completely dry. The sun was strong enough these past few days, but the sky looks heavy today. I think it's going to rain soon." Jack's mother touched the crisp texture, a faint smile warming her lined face. "You did well, child. When Jack was little, I used to dry bamboo shoots just like this to stir-fry with glass noodles during the hard winters. He loved it." Footsteps crunched on the gravel path. Jack walked up, pulling a lightweight coat over his working clothes. He stopped, looking between his mother and Tu Tien. The bond between the two women had grown deep, built on shared hardship. Yet, behind Jack's calm demeanor, a quiet urgency rippled. "Jack," his mother called out, "Tu Tien says we should put these away before the storm hits." "It's already done, Mother," Jack said, his voice grounded but reserved. "I'll call Uncle Dung right now. If he's home at the farmhouse down the valley, we'll take you down there today." Tu Tien looked up, her bright eyes flashing with a sudden shadow of confusion. Today? The transfer was supposed to happen slowly. Why was Jack rushing it? Before she could ask, Jack was already dialing. He stepped toward the edge of the porch. "Hello, Uncle Dung?" "Yes, it's Jack. Are you free this morning? I'm planning to bring Mother down to the valley house." A pause stretched across the line, heavy and uncertain. Through the receiver, Uncle Dung's voice sounded hesitant, muffled by distance. "Jack, I'm tied up with a few things at the farm this morning. Can you bring her down early this afternoon instead? Say, right after lunch? Early afternoon?" Jack echoed, glancing back at his mother, who quickly looked down at her hands. "All right, Uncle Dung. We'll come by early afternoon. Thank you." Hanging up, Jack turned to find Tu Tien watching him closely. An unspoken question hung in the air. Why is Uncle Dung avoiding us until noon? What is really waiting at that valley house? "He's busy until this afternoon," Jack announced smoothly, clearing his throat. "Tu Tien, did you still want to harvest the late-season melons down at the local field? We have a few hours. If you're free, Jack, go with her." His mother urged quickly, stepping in before Tu Tien could question the delay. "Don't sit around worrying about an old woman. I'll pack my things. You two go earn a living. Take the woven basket, Tu Tien, but don't carry too much. You've grown far too thin lately." Tu Tien touched her collarbone instinctively. "I'm fine, Mother. I'm strong." "A mother knows," the old woman whispered softly, reaching out to pat her cheek. "You give so much of yourself to this family. Just promises me, keep yourself safe." The local melon patch was lush and vibrant, stretching across the base of the misty hill. Dew still clung to the bright yellow fruit nestled beneath thick green vines. Jack swung the heavy bamboo basket over his shoulder, walking side by side with Tu Tien. "Look at these, Jack," Tu Tien said, bending down to lift a ripe, fragrant melon. The farmer sold these to us for only 4,000 dong a kilo because we harvest them ourselves. At the market, we can easily sell them for 10,000. Jack knelt beside her, taking out his pocket knife. He sliced a golden melon open, revealing its crisp, juicy center. The refreshing fragrance instantly filled the humid air. He handed the first slice to her. "Taste it." Tu Tien took a bite, her face lighting up with genuine warmth. "It's so sweet. Here, try some." Jack took a bite, smiling as he watched her. For a moment, the heavy burden in his chest lifted. "You really have an eye for this, Tu Tien. But you shouldn't be doing such heavy labor forever." "I like working with my hands," she replied softly, placing 3 more melons into his basket. "Besides, as long as we're together, no work is too hard." She reached for a slightly larger melon near the edge of the drainage ditch, but as she lifted it, her smile faded. The bottom was cracked wide open, the flesh waterlogged from yesterday's heavy rains. "Ah, this one is ruined," Tu Tien sighed, showing him the split rind. "Market buyers are picky. If we try to sell cracked fruit, it ruins our reputation." Jack took the cracked melon from her hands and laid it gently back onto the soil. "Then we leave it behind. We only carry what is whole, Tu Tien. We don't bring broken things to the people we care about." Tu Tien looked at him, feeling the hidden depth in his words. Was he talking about the fruit? Or was he talking about his family's troubled past? With the basket filled to the brim, they hurried to the village market square. The bustling morning crowd was already winding down, but Jack's crisp salesmanship and Tu Tien's gentle smile drew people in immediately. "Fresh valley melons." "Sweet and crisp," Jack called out, his refined CEO background surprisingly adapting to the humble market stall. "Give me 2 kilos, son," an elderly woman shouted, handing over a crisp bill. Within 45 minutes, the entire basket was empty. Tu Tien carefully counted the small stack of folded bills, her fingers trembling slightly with relief. "Over 100,000 dong. Jack, you're actually a natural at this." "It's not me," Jack chuckled, wiping a bead of sweat from his forehead. "It's because the harvest was good. Here, take the money." "No, you keep it." Tu Tien pushed his hand back gently. "You earned it." "Wait here. I'll buy us some fresh sugarcane juice." While Tu Tien ran to the corner drink stand, Jack picked up 2 perfect, unblemished melons he had secretly set aside. He tucked them into a cloth bag. "These are for Mother," he thought silently, "before she leaves us today." By 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the sky had settled into a soft, glowing gray. Jack and Tu Tien walked back up the gravel path to find his mother standing near the gate, holding a single small sudax. Beside her, a cardboard box rustled with life inside were 2 golden-furred puppies from their farm dog's fresh litter. "You're back early," his mother said, scanning their faces affectionately. "Did it go well?" "We sold every single one, Mother." Tu Tien smiled brightly, holding out a sweet melon. "And we saved the best ones for you." "You always think of me," the old woman murmured, her eyes glistening. Jack took his mother's suitcase, feeling how shockingly light it was. His jaw tightened. He turned to Tu Tien and then back to his mother. The moment had come. The secret he had been carrying all morning could no longer be kept. "Mother, Tu Tien, before we leave for the valley house, there's something I must say." Tu Tien froze, sensing the dramatic shift in Jack's voice. The wind rustled through the courtyard trees, casting long shadows across the porch. "Jack, what is it?" his mother asked softly. Jack reached into his inner coat pocket and pulled out a clean, stamped legal envelope, along with a small brass key. He didn't hand them to his mother immediately. Instead, he turned fully toward Tu Tien, his eyes filled with profound emotion. "Tu Tien, Since the day you came into our lives, you have given up everything to stand by us," Jack began, his voice deep and steady. "You worked in the mud, you bore the insults of people who didn't understand us, and you protected my mother as if she were your own. We built a humble wooden house over on the East Ridge, but that was just the beginning." He turned to his mother and gently placed the legal envelope into her frail hands. "Mother, this valley house isn't Uncle Dung's rental property. I bought it. It is completely paid off, and the title deed is registered under your name." His mother gasped, her hand pressing against her chest. "Jack, what are you saying? You spent your savings on this? A house for me? You sacrificed your entire youth to raise me in poverty," Jack said, his eyes moistening. "You deserve peace, comfort, and a home that no one can ever take from you. But that is only half of what I need to fulfill today." Jack took a step toward Tu Tien. The young woman stood breathless, her heart pounding against her ribs as she looked at the man she loved. "Mother," Jack continued, looking directly into his mother's tear-filled eyes, "it is time we give Tu Tien the dignity and status she deserves. We have been through fire together. I don't want us to just be partners in hardship. I want to make her my lawful wife." A heavy, emotional silence fell over the small yard. The truth hit Tu Tien like a wave of pure warmth, the secret rush, the hushed phone calls with Uncle Dung, the early afternoon timing. It wasn't about pushing his mother away or hiding a burden. It was about securing a dignified future for every single person in this family. "Jack," Tu Tien whispered, tears finally overflowing and tracing down her sun-flushed cheeks. His mother closed her eyes, letting out a deep, trembling breath of pure relief. "Oh, my children, I have prayed for this every single night. People in the village talk. They gossip because you two live and work together without a formal title. It broke my heart knowing I was a burden that delayed your happiness." She took Tu Tien's hand and placed it gently inside Jack's palm, folding her own weathered hands over theirs. "You don't need to wait for a lavish wedding if things are still tight," his mother said firmly, her voice ringing with maternal blessing. "Go register your marriage first. Give this sweet girl her rightful place in our family. My heart will finally be at peace." "We will, Mother," Jack promised, squeezing Tu Tien's hand tightly. "We will register the papers this week, and when the harvest season ends, we will hold a proper feast." The drive down into the valley was serene. Mist hovered low over the green hills, opening up to reveal a charming white-walled cottage surrounded by vibrant rows of red and yellow flowers. As the car pulled up, Uncle Dung stepped out from the covered porch, wearing a broad, welcoming smile. "You made it. Everything is ready inside." Jack carried his mother's bag into the house. The interior was pristine, spotless tiled floors, a warm wood-burning stove, fully furnished rooms, and wide windows that flooded the living space with soft, natural light. It was small, compact, and completely manageable for an elderly woman, yet far more luxurious than anything they had lived in during their darkest years. Tu Tien carried the cardboard box inside and set it down in the spacious hallway. She opened the flaps, releasing the two golden puppies. The tiny dogs tumbled out onto the floor, yipping playfully and chasing each other's tails. Uncle Dung laughed heartily, kneeling to pat one of the pups. "Ah, look at them. Jack told me you were bringing a companion for your mother and one for my farm. This yellow one is yours, Mother," Tu Tien said gently, guiding the small pup toward Jack's mother. "So you'll never feel lonely when Jack and I are working on the upper ridge. I am far from lonely, child," his mother replied, leaning against the sunny window frame, watching the hills. "Look at these flowers. Look at this piece." Jack walked up behind Tu Tien, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. They stepped out onto the wide back porch together, leaving his mother and Uncle Dung talking comfortably inside. The air in the valley was cool and sweet. A climbing flower trellis stretched across the patio frame, dripping with fragrant purple blossoms. "Do you smell that?" Jack asked softly, looking out over the misty valley. "It's the same wild jasmine that grows on the upper mountain." "It's beautiful, Jack," Tu Tien murmured, leaning her head against his arm. "You did all of this for us?" "I did it because without you, none of this home would mean anything," Jack said, turning to face her fully. He reached out, gently wiping away the dry tear tracks on her cheek. "I spent so long trying to rebuild my business, trying to prove my worth to the world, but standing in that melon field today, watching you work, I realized that my real wealth was already right beside me." Tu Tien looked into his earnest, steady eyes. The fear, the uncertainty, the endless months of feeling like an outsider in a harsh world evaporated completely. "We built this life out of hard work and honest sweat," she said softly, a brave, radiant smile breaking across her face. "We don't need a grand palace, Jack, just a quiet home, a healthy mother, and a future where we walk side by side." "Side by side," Jack repeated, pulling her into a warm, protective embrace as the afternoon sun broke through the gray clouds, bathing the valley in a golden, breathtaking light.